Hi, this is Dr. Shawn Talbott, Chief Science Officer at MonaVie, and thanks a lot for joining me for another edition of From the Lab. Today we're going to talk about the View device and give you an overview, about how this technology works. So let me start with this. Our overall product strategy at MonaVie is really geared towards this idea of the science of feeling your best. And we can break that down biochemically into four main areas. So the complaints that people might come to us with are that they're feeling stiff and sore, they're feeling tired and worn out, they're gaining weight, or they're stressed out. And those complaints, so-called, we can dial back to the biochemistry of what's causing that complaint in the body. And the reason that's important from a product development perspective is because if we know the source of the problem, the root cause, if you will, we can design a product that rebalances that part of that person's biochemistry and in effect helps them feel better. So with our product platform at MonaVie, we can really help people feel better in almost any way that they could complain about. We're solving a lot of problems with these products. And it really coordinates in a very unique way. So it's not just about the juices being the most effective, most comprehensive antioxidants on the market, or the Reveal products being the most effective, most comprehensive blood sugar controllers and an aspect of weight loss on the market, but the fact that they coordinate with each other, that they truly synergize to help each other work better. That's where the real magic comes in. That these aspects of biochemistry that are built into the products give each product category its own set of benefits, but then that set of benefits helps the next set of benefits, which helps the next set of benefits. And that's what we mean by being able to say to somebody, we can truly help you feel your best again, like maybe you used to feel. So where does the View fit in? The View really gives us a new way to talk about the doorway into the MonaVie universe of products. And that's through the doorway of controlling free radical damage or controlling oxidation with antioxidants. That, in a lot of ways, is the first domino in the chain of events that you need to get rebalanced. So the View gives us a very, very unique way of telling that story. You know, the story of antioxidants is a very difficult one to tell very often because you can't see them, you can't taste them, you can't necessarily feel them until there's enough oxidative damage to result in some sort of a tissue dysfunction. And so it's this abstract idea that there's these free radicals that cause damage and there's these antioxidants that protect you from that, and people don't really feel the benefit until down the road. What View gives us an opportunity to do is give somebody a color with a quick scan right now, or give them a numerical score with a life scan in just a few seconds. The thing that's interesting about that, from my perspective as a nutritionist, is how it changes their behavior. Once you get that color and you have a sticker on your shirt, or you have that number and you have that in the front of your mind, it really changes how you approach your day. It changes your lifestyle choices. It encourages you to eat more fruits and vegetables. It encourages you to be more physically active. It encourages you to avoid some of those sources of free radical damage in your environment. It really helps you, gives you the motivation to make those healthy changes that you know you need to do. You know, if you were to ask anybody right now, do you think you need to eat more fruits and vegetables? 100% of people would say, well, of course I do. I know I don't eat enough fruits and vegetables. And the reason that we don't is because it's not right there in the front of our minds. The View device makes that more meaningful. It makes it more concrete. And if it is more concrete, it makes it more actionable. So what we'll see with the View device as we scan millions of people around the world is we'll see them changing their behavior in a positive direction. And that's so important. So let's talk a little bit about how the View device works. It works based on an idea from physics called biophotonics. And it's based on the concept that every molecule in the natural world has its own optical fingerprint. And that means that we can use light to measure. We can use light to measure the atmosphere of planets far off in the universe. We can use light to measure the atmosphere, if you will, of your body. And we're using light in a very, very specific way when it comes to the View. We're using different wavelengths of light to measure antioxidants in the skin, which is indicative of the antioxidant protection throughout your whole body. So, one of the ways that we'll describe this to people is to say, look, you can use biophotonics, you can use optical density parameters to measure the atmosphere of Jupiter. None of us have ever been to Jupiter, but we know what that planet is made of. We can use exactly the same technology to measure the carotenoids and the flavonoids, two very important classes of antioxidants, right in your skin. And that's a game changer in terms of our ability to educate and to motivate behavior in terms of antioxidant nutrition. So it's not exactly new technology. The field of biophotonics has been around for a long, long time. It's a very, in some ways, it's kind of an esoteric field, very, very high level of science. You have physicists who are using light to study biology. It's a field called biophotonics. It has its own journal, the Journal of Biophotonics, a very, very high level academic journal with a very high, what we call impact factor in academia. And the technology that's built into the View device was the feature article in the Journal of Biophotonics, the cover article in the July 2012 issue. So if you really want to do a deep dive sometime into the background behind how we take this measurement, what wavelengths are used, how the light shined into the tissue is reflected back, and how we measure in optical density units the concentration of those carotenoids, you can check out this article in the Journal of Biophotonics. But it's a very, very high-level journal. So we have good technology. We have a game-changing way to explain a very important aspect of nutrition. And MonaVie is the only place that you can get this technology. MonaVie is the only place where you can get a View scan and have a quick scan and get a color that represents your antioxidant protection, or a life scan, which gives you a numerical, a little bit more accurate way of representing your antioxidant protection. And we're the only ones you can get that from because we're the only license holders to the patent for using reflectance to measure carotenoids, and we're also the only licensee to the patent application for flavonoids, for using fluorescence to measure flavonoids. We have both of these built into that little View device. So when you get a quick scan or you get a life scan, you're getting an indication of what your body's concentration of these very, very important two classes of antioxidants will be. And you can only get that from MonaVie. So let's talk for just a quick minute about why carotenoids and flavonoids are so important for you, right? There are 5 major classes of antioxidants in the body. Vitamin C family, vitamin E family, thiols, carotenoids, and flavonoids. And the way to protect yourself the best way from free radicals in the atmosphere and give yourself the best overall antioxidant protection is to get a little bit of all of those. It's a concept that we call the antioxidant network. And you want to have representatives of each and every one of those classes of antioxidants. And that's how our MonaVie products are built. When we look at carotenoids specifically, we can look at data from the Baltimore Healthy Aging Study. This is coordinated out of Johns Hopkins University in Maryland, that shows us that the higher your body's content of carotenoids, the higher your carotenoid exposure, the lower your risk of all-cause mortality, which is basically death from any reason. So carotenoids might not be the fountain of youth. They might not protect you from everything that's in the environment, but a higher level of carotenoids really is healthy in a wide range of reasons. Okay? We can look at flavonoids, and we can look at a series of studies that are coming out of Harvard University right now over the last 18 months that show that the higher concentration of flavonoids in your body, the lower risk of a wide range of chronic conditions, everything from heart attacks to senile dementia to Parkinson's to osteoporosis to basically you name it. So the science is showing us over and over and over again that higher carotenoid levels, when they're balanced, is appropriate, is good for your health. Higher flavonoid levels, when they're balanced, is good for your health. And we see that over and over again in all of these different areas. So it's a little bit different than just thinking to yourself, well, I need an antioxidant. Let me run out and get some high-dose vitamin E, right? And just take that. That would actually be detrimental if your overall desire is to improve your health. When we see people supplementing with high-dose, isolated, synthetic antioxidants, such as high-dose vitamin E, for example, we actually see problems. We see that high-dose approach to antioxidant supplementation displaces those other categories of antioxidants, which brings us back to where MonaVie has been all along. antioxidant network, a little bit of each one of the categories, all balanced in a particular way to give you an overall better health protective effect. That's what we really want to do. And when we ask ourselves what causes our score on the View device to decrease, it's all the sources of free radicals in our environment. So we want to be able to protect ourselves from all of those sources as much as possible. So you can see on this next slide, things like air pollution, things like poor diet and too much sugar, things like smoking, which might be obvious to you. But think about one puff of a cigarette has 100 trillion free radicals in it. And you can think about how that goes into the lungs, it gets distributed through the bloodstream, it touches every single cell in the body, and damages your cell membranes, and damages your mitochondria, and damages your DNA inside the nucleus of your cells. So anytime we're exposed to those sources of oxidation, we're depleting our body's stores of antioxidants. So we want to have as many sources of antioxidants as possible in the right balance, at the right levels, to protect us from all of these different sources of free radical damage that we encounter on a daily basis. So that's the bad news. The good news is we certainly can protect ourselves, and we can certainly do that in some very effective ways. Think back to the Baltimore data. Eating more fruits and vegetables, specifically vegetables with carotenoids, can reduce our risk of all-cause mortality. Think back to the Harvard data. Eating more fruits that are high in flavonoids, things like acai and berries and grapes, can reduce our risk for a wide range of chronic diseases. So I want you to eat those 10 to 12 servings of fruits and vegetables every single day. But I also realize that the reality of life makes that difficult for people to do sometimes. We might not have access to the fruits and vegetables all the time. It might not be convenient. It might be expensive. So do that as much as you can, but then when you can't, use a dietary supplement that's balanced appropriately to fill those gaps. I want you to do things like being more physically active, because that can actually ramp up your body's own production of what we call endogenous or internal antioxidants and protect you from those free radicals in the environment. I want you to do all these things. Avoid the sources of free radicals. Be more physically active. Eat your fruits and vegetables. But when we can't do all of that, the supplement represents the next best thing. It doesn't replace all of those other things. It just represents the next best thing. So how do you choose what dietary supplement you're going to look for? How do you choose what product to actually put into your body? Well, first of all, you'll look for something that is based on the antioxidant network, that gives you representatives from each one of those major classes of antioxidants. But then you also want to look for one that's going to be effective in your body. How do you know it's going to be absorbed? It might be great inside that bottle or inside that capsule, but how do you know it's going to do something great in here, inside your body? You want to make sure that it's absorbed appropriately. You want to make sure that it's transported to where it's going to have its effect. You want to make sure it's deposited in that tissue. You want to make sure that there's some sort of a retention in that tissue so you have a benefit over time. And that's exactly what we've shown with the kinds of antioxidants and the types of antioxidants that we've put into MonaVie products. So I'll share with you now some data from a very recent scientific study that we presented at the Experimental Biology Conference. The Experimental Biology Conference is the largest life sciences conference in the world. So you'll get 35,000 scientists that come to this conference every year to talk about physiology or endocrinology or nutritional biochemistry. And we kind of save up our data and present it at EB every single year. Last year we presented this study in a session called Biochemistry of Vitamins and Minerals, and we showed that the way that MonaVie does antioxidants, the way that we build these products, is actually quite a bit more effective than standard antioxidant nutrition. It's a technology that we call BioEssence, and it takes into consideration all of those aspects of absorption and transport and digestibility and deposition in that target tissue and retention in the target tissue, so you actually get those health benefits from the good stuff that's in the bottle. So let me step you through what this study looked like. We had 3 groups in this particular study. We had Group C, which was a placebo group, a control group, a group that didn't get any of these antioxidants. We had Group B that got a certain level of the standard approach to giving antioxidants. So in this case, we gave 18 milligrams of a natural beta-carotene extract. And then in our group, the BioEssence group, Group A, we gave 15 milligrams of a proprietary emulsion, a proprietary blend that we felt would have better absorption, better retention, all those things that I just mentioned before. That's our BioEssence blend. And people will sometimes look at the levels that we gave and they'll say, wait a minute, you gave 15 milligrams of your BioEssence blend compared to 18 milligrams of the standard approach. Why in the world would you do that? It looks like you're stacking the deck against yourselves. You're giving more of theirs. That should be more effective, actually. And we went into the study thinking to ourselves that 15 milligrams of our highly bioavailable material would be equivalent to 18 milligrams of the standard therapy. And we actually found something that was a little more interesting than that. Not only was it not equally effective, ours was more effective, and I'll show you that data right now. If you look at this chart, what you can see is three groups, our A group, B group, C group. The C group is in the green. This is the control group. They didn't change very much over time. That's exactly what you would expect when we look at skin carotenoid levels or skin scanner levels. When we look at the blue bars, those blue dots, that's the B group. That's the standard approach to antioxidant therapy. And they did okay. You know, antioxidants are good. The standard approach to natural antioxidants is to absorb them, and they go into your body and they protect you at a certain level. And when you stop taking them, they go away at a certain rate. When you look at the orange bars, though, what you can really see is not only that our BioEssence approach went up faster, it went up higher, and it stayed up longer. And so we can average all that data together and show not only were we doing as good as standard therapy, we were doing significantly better. So the standard therapy was improving scanner scores about 36-37%, which is terrific. That's a great approach to antioxidant nutrition. But when we look at the BioEssence approach, we see that our scanner scores, our protective effect was almost double that in the same amount of time. We're talking about 56-57%. That's a very significant and meaningful change above and beyond what standard antioxidant therapy looks like. So you can be very comfortable that what's built into the MonaVie products is digested and absorbed and transported and retained in that target tissue at a way that's very, very important for your health. And we can also show you that it works for virtually everybody. When you look at a histogram like we have on the screen right now, what you can see is the gray bars baseline. That's before we supplemented people. And then you can compare that and contrast that with the orange bars or the yellow bars that are shifted to the right. That rightward shift really indicates that the whole population of people that we were supplementing with this BioEssence approach were moving to a higher scan. We're moving to a higher level of antioxidant protection. We're basically moving to a healthier place. We took the whole population of people in this study from a less healthy place to a more healthy place. And we were able to show that to them with a score, with a color, with a number. That is what is really important about the View antioxidant scanner, is that we're able to show that change to people in a very short amount of time. That's going to change lives out there. And that population could be as big as we had in the study, 50, 60, 70 people, or it could be as big as your town. It could be as big as your state. It could be as big as the United States or North America or the globe. This is really game-changing technology that will let us bring people to a healthier place in their lives. And I couldn't be more excited to be involved with this initiative. So we feel so good about the antioxidant blends that we have built into these MonaVie products, whether we're looking at the juices or we're looking at the Reveal shakes, that we're going to put our money behind. We're going to put our money behind our promises here, right? We're going to actually guarantee these products. If you use a View certified product as directed for 60 days, the same duration that we're using in our studies, we guarantee it. We guarantee that if you use this product for 60 days as directed, if your score does not go up, you get your money back. And we make that recommendation, we make that promise because of the data. We know what the data is going to do. If this were Las Vegas, we're the house, right? We know what the odds are. The odds are that just about everybody, population-wise, is going to increase to such a significant degree, it's a done deal. Use these products, improve your score, share that with other people, and share it in a way that really makes the conversation easy. My score went from red to green. My score went from green to purple. And it gives us the opportunity to really change that conversation. You know, antioxidants have been around for decades. Fruits and vegetables have been around for however long anything has been around. But we're not acting on what we know we should do because of some sort of a disconnect. And I believe that disconnect is making it concrete. View makes it concrete. And again, it really changes the way we can educate the masses. So I challenge you, let's go out there and scan the world. Because in doing so, we solve that first piece of the biochemical puzzle for people. We get their oxidation, antioxidant balance back to where it should be. And from there, we have a strong foundation to build on other aspects. Do they want to lose weight? Do they want more energy? Do they want to control their stress? Do they want to feel their best? And I think the answer to that is, of course. Everybody wants to feel their best. And this is the doorway into that. This is what MonaVie can do. This is what MonaVie will become known for in the world, helping people feel their best. And the view is the first step along that journey. So thanks a lot for joining me on this edition of From the Lab. Join me next week when we're going to have New York Times bestselling author Mark McDonald and MonaVie's own fitness expert here to join me about a conversation about the new science around weight loss and blood sugar control and how that is yet another layer of helping people feel their best. This is Dr. Shawn Talbott. Thanks a lot.